Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion, Accelerating Product Introduction of Medical Devices Through Operational Excellence. Just a few housekeeping items before we start. We are recording this session and we'll send it out a bit after we conclude. We also encourage everyone to ask questions in the question area and we'll get to as many as possible. Also, because it is a panel discussion, there will be no video associated with the presentation. With that, I'd like to introduce our panelists. Aria Halbern is the Director of Global Life Sciences Industry at Dassault Systems. He is the holder of 7 patents, with an additional 6 pending, with applications across the medical device and health landscape. He has been selected as a keynote speaker to address industry groups and as a member of the Medical Device Innovation Consortium and Living Heart Project, as well as being an advisor to startup and early-stage businesses. Michael Koltov is the Senior Business Executive of Dassault Systems at Vias. He has a rich history in helping companies develop products using advanced engineering cloud platform technologies in EV, AV, automotive, high-tech, heavy manufacturing, and natural resources industries. He is also an entrepreneur in the healthcare sector, developing technology that revolutionized the organ transplant industry, saving hundreds of lives and improving the health of thousands. Our moderator is Kip Speck, Director of PLM here at Vias. Kip has over 20 years of experience in the PLM/PDM fields. He has worked in a variety of positions from EPDM developer to Director of Technical Applications, as well as serving many companies as a PLM consultant. Among his areas of expertise, he has become a certified EPDM professional, a certified PDM Works support technician, and a certified EPDM administrator. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Michael.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those of you listening in to this webinar. My name is Mike Koltov. I'm with Vias. We're a platinum level partner of Dassault Systems, which is a major player in the medical device software market, where we work with many of the major and start all the way down to startup companies in the medical device field. In healthcare, I myself have founded a software company some years ago in the organ transplant field and helped to improve the productivity of organ transplants across the United States, and got a lot of family members in the healthcare field as well. So glad that you all could join us today. I wanted to kick this off by introducing our couple of other panelists, and then we're going to be going for, I believe, Michelle, the better part of an hour, right? And then have some time for Q&A afterwards. So, Kip, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as the moderator?
So my name is Kip Speck with Vias Corporation. I'm the technical director. I have many years of experience in the PLM industry and solutions. I've worked with many companies, from med device companies to automotive, providing solutions around customers' needs, requirements, and how they manage their business and products.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Kip. Appreciate that. And also there's Aria Halpern, who's joined us as well, who's also had many years of experience in the medical device field as well. Aria, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Laurie Halpern. I'm a life science industry business consultant at Dassault Systems, specializing in the medical device industry. Part of my roles is working on defining new software solution products for customers. Been with Dassault for approximately 7 years. Prior to joining Dassault Systems, I was in the medical device industry for about 30 years. Started off in engineering and biomedical engineer, and then moved in various other roles, product marketing, upstream, product marketing, downstream commercialization, with background in regulatory affairs, clinical trials, program project management, merger and acquisitions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ari. Appreciate that. So the way we're going to organize this today is Kip's going to be offering a number of questions for both Aria and myself, and we'll be answering those as we go along. And then at the end of this session, we'll open it up to questions and answers from those who've called in, and looking forward to that as well. So, Kip, I'll turn it over to you to start the questions.
Great, thank you very much. So from the panelists, what do you see as growth trends in the med device market, i.e. combination of products, wearables, proactive care?
Okay, so this is Aria. So if you look at where healthcare is going today, it's value-based healthcare, and really value-based healthcare is all about improving patient outcomes at lower costs. And you also have the shift in care from the hospital to the home. And what this has resulted in over time is, a number of very novel technological products. You have combination products, including wearable combination products such as insulin pumps, pre-filled syringes, drug-coated stents, drug-eluting stents, drug-coated hip implants. You have what I refer to as proactive wearable devices, which provide diagnostic quality data which can be used by the patient and the healthcare professional in managing their chronic conditions such as diabetes or cardiovascular. If you look at those types of devices and wearable devices, they include continuous glucose monitoring, multi-lead ECG monitoring. So instead of modified lead 1 ECGs, you now can have true multi-lead ECG, lead 2, lead 3, lead 5, pulse oximetry, non-invasive blood pressure, temperature, respiration. Pretty much, you're looking at the convergence of physiologic vital signs monitoring technologies that have in the past have been predominantly in hospitals or healthcare physician offices. You're now seeing that shift to the home environment. You also have software as a medical device, which are software programs independent of the medical device, such as machine learning technologies and algorithms to improve upon patient care. Examples from imaging systems, the use of algorithms to give diagnostic information for skin cancer. You have smart ECG devices that estimate the probability of a heart attack. You have predictive algorithms that can alert patients to the potential onset in the clinical conditions, such as whether the patient, if it's a diabetes patient, whether they're going hyper or hypo. You have implantable biosensors that can monitor and communicate data such as electrocardiograms. You have a heavy increase in mechatronic devices, which employ sensors, actuators, software, controllers, and mechanical components, for example, such as wearable robotic exoskeleton technology, which is now helping walking impaired people with spinal cord injury to be able to stand upright, walk, climb, descend stairs, basically improving upon their quality of life, for such companies like Rewalk Robotics. We've seen major advances in minimal invasive surgery through surgical robotic assisted technologies like Intuitive Surgical and Medtronic. If we continue to look on, we've seen advances in nerve impulse controlled prosthetic arms, which employ sensors and algorithms that pick up nerve signals that let people actually control a prosthetic arm by imagining the movement that they want to make. And such arms employ robotic fingers, many of them which have pressure and temperature sensors that provide closed loop feedback to control systems. And then, another interesting areas that I find is wearable artificial organs, such as a wearable artificial kidney, which, when those technologies come to market, are really going to improve upon people's quality of life, increase survivability for patients that require hemodialysis, basically eliminating the need for a patient to go to a hemodialysis center, 2-3 days a week, several hours at a session. They'd be able to be home or doing their daily lives. You have other wearable organs such as artificial pancreas, which are closed loop insulin pump delivery systems, which include embedded continuous glucose monitoring technology. And then if you look into the area of remote monitoring and remote telehealth, especially given the COVID-19 environment we're in, that really has accelerated technologies which facilitate virtual person-to-person meetings, eliminating in-person meetings. And that's a combination of wearable devices over the counter and daily charting software apps, and the use of virtual remote software that allows healthcare professionals to be alerted as to how their patients are managing in homes, especially those that are living in rural areas. So remote telehealth and remote monitoring is really accelerating in its adopted use, and in part, I think, personally speaking, I think more accelerated because of the COVID-19 environment. And then with drastic improvement in smartphone optical and sensor capabilities over the previous decade, we're starting to see add-on optical imaging devices for your smartphone, turning your smartphone into a kind of powerful clinical diagnostic tool, for capturing images that can be used in easy remote diagnosis with your patient.
Yeah, Aria, just a couple of comments on that that great section there. One thing is, coming from the organ transplant world, knowing that it's coming down the pike quickly, that you'll be able to actually have a wearable kidney dialysis capability. The number one organ that people need replaced more than any other is the kidney, and kidneys are quite durable in that they can survive outside the body for long, up to 2 days, but there's just like all the other organs to be transplanted, there's not enough of them. And the people on the kidney list are many times longer than for the other organs. So there's over 100,000 people waiting for kidneys right now. So it's a great thing to have this, because while you're on that waiting list to get a kidney, you can have those patients right now go into dialysis centers and they stay there for several hours. And they have to do this multiple times a week, and it's that's what keeps them alive. But now you're able to provide this capability essentially from home, but in a wearable fashion, so people actually start to get a quality of life going. It really can revolutionize that that part of medicine.
Yes, right. So there is that convergence from kidney dialysis centers. There's some products that are recently approved for home dialysis treatment, and there's several companies that are in development of really wearable artificial organs, and that changes the paradigm. It improves upon quality of life of the patients, and in many cases, it's going to give people back their lives. So, we're in a decade of really a whole technological change and convergence of technologies here.
Yeah, and the thing that's really kicked it off too for the home market has been the ability to do virtual doctor visits. And our family has used that quite well, and saved, in some cases, several hours of driving to and from the doctor's office each time, and providing similar medical care, and in some cases better care, because more people can actually appear simultaneously on a call than just your physician. It can also be a resident and a pharmacist and other people all get on the call at the same time to help a patient with their issues. So the ability to do that now from home is really starting to wake up the entire home market for medical care, including medical devices.
Yes, I mean the shift from the hospital to the home, and with the technologies and wireless communication capabilities today, as you said, being able to have virtual visits can now also include, not just the patient, but include the care provider, whether that's a family member or a home health care provider. So you can have multiple people involved, and then your personal electronic healthcare records. So with all of these wearable devices and let's say your weight scale, your blood pressure, your oxygen saturation, respiration temperature, all of this data and measurements that can be taken in the home, can go into your personal electronic healthcare records, your apps. And giving your primary healthcare provider access to information so they can see what's going on. This is information that they've not had in the past. You only got this data when you went into a hospital or you went to your physician's office. But now that you can periodically more actively monitor your key vital sign data, you can be more proactive in care with the patient. And what I mean by proactive or preventative care, that is averting potential complications which may result in readmission to the hospital. And that's where hospital, healthcare expenses start to go up, is the admission to the hospital. So a lot of home monitoring and remote telehealth and early alert predictive algorithms will, avert or reduce the number of hospital, rehospitalization visits, and would allow for earlier alert interventional care by your healthcare professional provider, thereby, averting any downstream complications.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Kip, you want to bring up the next question?
So yeah, that is fantastic. The amount of information and all the advancements that you're making, those are great leaps in technology and all the things that you're providing. One of the things that comes to mind is, what is the trend in quality management? How do you control that? And what do you see as some of the challenges and things that you're looking at for the quality management part of it?
Okay. Well, if you look at the rapid advances in medical device technology, improving patient outcomes and quality of life that we just spoke about, and when you look at healthcare pricing pressures driving lower costs, and then you have increased competition, global expansion of companies, dispersed teams, especially in today's COVID environment. You're seeing increased regulatory scrutiny by the regulatory authorities. Companies need to implement quality systems that are flexible and dynamic, ensuring upon data connectivity within the quality management system, regardless of where your employees and partners, are located. Given the rapid advances in medical device technology, embedding quality processes within the total product lifecycle development process of a medical product, from ideation, concept phase, to development, to verification, validation, commercialization, and post-market, is critical in ensuring upon the delivery of high quality, cost-effective, patient-safe devices. Developing a framework whereby quality is embedded within the design, development, and manufacturing processes is a critical element ensuring upon product quality and patient safety. For example, ensuring that all documents are under a single unified change control processing, having process and procedures for documenting requirements and the traceability of those requirements from, let's say, the voice of the customer needs to product requirements to system specifications to risk analysis to verification and validation test cases and test results. Being able to have that bi-directional linkage is a critical element of the overall quality system and the quality of the medical device being developed. Recording, managing, and tracking issues during the development and qualification process is another critical aspect within the total quality of a product development process. Given today's environment of remote working, companies need to shift from working in a kind of a siloed environment where data may be stored on individual PCs to a collaborative, data-driven model-based quality system which integrates and embeds document control, quality control, and change control upon a single source of data truth, thereby where all data is under a single unified change control process for all to have access to, regardless of where they are physically located. Given the increased use in third-party contract engineering companies and third-party manufacturing companies, ensuring the ability to be able to extend your quality management system and design control process to third-party providers and the ability to share upon a single source of data truth helps ensures upon the delivery of high-quality, cost-effective products to the patient while reducing company exposure to costly product recalls, impact upon market share, brand name, and possible adverse events.
Yeah, and especially just to add a final thought on that too is, the regulatory side of this is enormous when you're talking about quality control, because submitting all of this information to the FDA for approvals is a very involved process, and having to do that over again, making quality mistakes and having to do it over again is very timely, very costly, and will extend out the time to market. So yeah, these are really vital in today's medical device environment.
Well, especially also when you look at audit inspections and the FDA and other regulatory authorities performing audit inspections of a company's others operating facilities, globally dispersed, or you having a common document management change control processing, having a common CAPA complaint process throughout your organization, especially your very large medical device companies that have many operating divisions and acquisitions. Harmonizing, get everybody onto a common quality management system process and procedures helps ensuring upon quality as well as adherence to to regulatory guidelines. So it's important these days to harmonize upon a company having a common system for which everybody is operating under.
Great. Thanks.
I've heard you mention a couple things, processes, platforms, and things like that. So when you talk about from the idea to product launch, a lot of things have happened over the past year. So how has COVID impacted the product launch, and how do you see that going forward?
Okay, thanks for the question. So if you look today, COVID-19 really has kind of forced a paradigm shift in how people work and collaborate together. People need systems that allow team members to work more closely together, as well as having immediate access to all relevant data that are critical in being able to meet project schedules and delivery upon innovative products. Prior to COVID-19, many companies worked in, as I said, in a kind of siloed environment where data was scattered and stored on individual PCs. stored in a shared drive or was even paper-based and was not easily accessible or shareable amongst coworkers. So, you have CAD data, you'd have requirements on one, your PCB designs and mechanical engineering designs, your bill of materials, design history file, device master record, in scattered systems, and sometimes quite often paper-based. So this made access to the data very hard. You had, in some cases, outdated information or process insufficiencies or redundant information in different locations. And sometimes you had outdated DHF and DMR information. And this affects a company's ability to deliver products to the market in a timely manner, especially more so when having dispersed development and manufacturing operations and local country regulatory affair teams working on obtaining local country regulatory approvals. So such siloed systems made access to data very hard and impacted timely release of products. As we spoke earlier, as Michael mentioned, we were talking about getting regulatory approvals. So imagine you're in an environment in which your DHF is paper-based and you have dispersed regulatory teams, even in the United States, or let's say you have dispersed regulatory teams in other geos. Most of the information that you need, let's just say even for FDA, for a 510K or a PMA, most of that information comes out of your DHF. And in a paper-based DHF environment, that in itself was hard to manage, and being able to get that information, making photocopies of it, emailing that information, is it the most current information? That put that impacted time to market in preparing your dossier submission to the regulatory authority. And although companies were able to work with such, disjointed siloed-based systems in such a pre-COVID-19 environment, these systems really don't lend themselves to a COVID-19 environment where most people work remotely and physical contact is very limited. So if you're in a paper-based structure for, let's say, your DHF, that's very hard versus if it was in a digital platform, where then all of your regulatory affairs people that require access to that DHF have access to that data and could easily, in some cases, drag and drop the documents they need to build up, their 510K or their PMA submission. So, COVID-19 brought to the forefront the need for systems that foster collaboration in a remote environment where everyone has access to everything and everyone under a single unified change control process. So basically, individual ownership of data is kind of removed in a way, and it becomes more of a collaborative environment. Such collaborative systems, which are data-driven, model-based with a single source, what I call, people refer to it as a single source of truth. I kind of refer to it as a single source of data truth, operating under a single unified change control process with integrated quality data management systems, will facilitate companies to be able to efficiently operate, in a remote work environment while maintaining quality. Although in the early months of COVID-19, there were disruptions that significantly impacted time to market, with wider adoption of such data-driven, model-based collaborative systems, again, with a unified change control process and a single data source, companies started to experience improved collaboration, which resulted in improved productivity, operating efficiency, and time to market. And by having everything under a single unified change control process, you could more or less ensure that all of your documents, all of the documents that are created are under a single revision control process, and that you're accessing the most current release documents. So that's very important. Other things that we are talking about from idea to product launch, is the use of digital engineering design tools, such as 3D CAD design tools, modeling and simulation tools that are allowing engineers to accelerate the development cycle time and reduce development costs and time by reducing iterative design process based upon physical prototype builds, which in the past was very prevalent within the medical device industry, and again was a cost and time-consuming approach. So with modeling and simulation, design engineers can assess and envision how their designs will operate within the intended use environment. For example, a heart valve implanted within the heart during the early upstream stages of assessing design concepts before ever building a physical prototype. So, digital twins can replicate how the device will operate within the intended use environment. For example, in the strains and stresses and load boundaries upon the device. And these digital design tools will allow for rapid iterative design changes, assessment, and testing in a virtual environment where dispersed engineers can collaborate upon a common data model, ensuring upon building what I call building right the first time with improved quality.
Yeah.
And then,
Aria, I just want to jump in real quick there. And some of the technology today enables the digital twin to happen even faster, because you can do your design and your simulation work at the same time. So there's software out there that will combine those two things together, because typically what you do is you design it and then you throw it over the wall to the simulation engineers, and they work on all the physics that those products need for durability and so forth. And then you throw it back over to the designer to make those changes and back and forth. Here, you could do it all literally at the same time with the same design / simulation capability, all built in the same environment. It's pretty exciting.
yes, and you can even look at it. There's digital design tools that allow you to design your the electronics of your device. So instead of in the past, I'm going to draw up my schematics and then I'm going to go breadboard it and build it, and test it. You have tools today, like Dymola, for example, that can allow you to design this all virtually, run simulation tests. If you're looking at flow volume, pressure volume loops, or different things, being able to change capacitors and seeing that impact change. So, all of this combined together really accelerates, it pulls in that design development curve. And then, if you look at 3D printing technology today, that further accelerates the development curve and reduces costs by eliminating associated expenses typically associated with typical mold production, which is very costly, especially when you're looking at multiple iterative designs, which may be required. So when you're designing a medical device, depending upon the complexity of the medical device, you quite often go through iterative designs and testing. Well, with 3D printing today, you can go from your 3D CAD modeling designs into a 3D printed device, which you can then use as, if you need to do any types of physical testing or put it into a model, a prototype, you can literally build a functional prototype device using 3D printed components, get to that point much faster than you could if you'd have to go through conventional, making the molds and producing the parts. So all of this really helps accelerate your design and development, and giving you a higher confidence that when you develop the molds and build the parts for V&V testing, that these parts should pass. So, combining all of these digital engineering design tools and 3D printing and modeling and simulation facilitates the ability to pull in the development curve, helping design right the first time with improved product quality and patient safety.
That's great.
Yeah, so with that, everything you're talking about, the innovation without borders, kind of your remote working, the collaborative environment, how to accelerate the development curve, how has 3D modeling and simulation helped, and 3D printing for prototypes and production products in the market.
Right. So, right, and modeling and simulation, as we spoke about, is really is going to help accelerate part of your verification, validation, testing of your device. And there's an ongoing project with the FDA that Dassault Systems is part of that, of in silico clinical trial. And how could you make use of computational modeling and simulation as an augmentation part of your clinical trial, not as a replacement, total replacement for your clinical trial, but as an augmentation for your clinical trial, is really going to be a quantum leap in accelerating that, and that's done in conjunction with the ASME VNV 40 framework.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And then one other thing we haven't spoken, but if you look at digital manufacturing technology today, using digital manufacturing technology, your manufacturing engineering groups can start earlier on in the upstream development phases. I mean, once you've completed your testing of your device, but through digital manufacturing and 3D CAD modeling and all of your digital modeling designs, manufacturing engineering can start to virtually start planning and laying out the manufacturing production line. So with these tools, you can really start seeing how you can pull and shift your what we call your total product lifecycle development curve to the left. So you can pull in your development time and costs, and you could start accelerating your manufacturing preparedness and layout such that when you do get regulatory approval, or let's say you're at the point, okay, we have it, we're now going to submit it to the regulatory authority, you could already start accelerating the layout of your manufacturing line, your process procedures, and everything that you require, such that once you're at that point, it's really flip the switch on and allows you to pull in your manufacturing and be able to be on market faster. So the whole digital world, digital twin, 3D CAD design, computational modeling and simulation, engineering design tools is really going to accelerate the total product lifecycle development curve.
That's great. It's all coming together. I mean, we're seeing all these advancements. I even heard of, some of the this 3D printing that you mentioned. They're actually starting to do some of that in space at the International Space Station, and they've got some experiments there where they're doing 3D printing in microgravity to see how that affects 3D printing. So there's some amazing advancements that are happening right now in that field as well.
Yeah, I mean there's artificial limbs that are that use 3D printing technology, especially amongst children, because their growth and change is so fast. They're using 3D printing to be able to make changes to to their product, to their body limbs very fast. So it's very exciting where all this technology is today and where all this technology can go.
It's exciting. And Kip, I think you've got a question too on working with compressed timelines, and how's that really going to affect things?
Yep, that's the question. So, yeah, you know, the mainstream reality, working with the market transition, with compressed timelines, how and what processes are we adopting to meet the new product lifecycle introduction?
Well, you know, I think, you know, individual ownership of data has transitioned to a single source of data where everyone can have access to everything and everyone all under a unified change control process with embedded quality control tools is a key element. You know, having such a collaborative platform that facilitates collaborations amongst all of the development, amongst all of the stakeholders, whether, you know, it's product marketing, engineering, regulatory, quality, supply chain, you know, manufacturing, is critical, even if it was in a non-COVID-19 environment, because of the way development teams work. So, you know, having such systems really helps accelerate, because everybody has access to that. Take, for example, CAD design engineer. Okay, so you know, he's working on his CAD designs. I don't know, the individual becomes sick or that, you know, and if it resides on his PC, it's not sometimes easily accessible. If you have it under a single data truth where that information is, you can easily transfer that information to another mechanical design engineer to, you know, to be able to pick up on that and continue on that. You can today have, imagine this, you have focus group meetings. And if you look at focus group meetings, it's a time-consuming process. It's extremely important in identifying really the voice of the customer needs, but you just don't do it in one geolocation. Quite often, you'll have multiple focus groups in different countries. Sometimes there's slight different needs in different countries. And today, you know, with such collaborative platforms like Dassault's, the 3D Experience platform, you can have virtual remote focus group sessions, and you can have your industrial design engineer there drawing design illustrations on the digital pad and converting those into 3D renderings during your focus group sessions. You didn't have such things, you know, 10, 15 years ago. You know, it's like with sticky notes, you know, have your focus group meeting, you have your initial focus group meetings, take the notes, go back to the offices, you know, refine what they're telling you to requirements, start putting together concept design illustrations, you know, go back to your focus group meetings. And again, depending upon your product and where, you may be flying across, you know, several geographies hosting these meetings, where, you know, today you can have virtual focus group meetings, again, depending upon the time zone, so maybe you could link a few together. But you could, during those meetings, you could start seeing in real time the concept illustration drawings of what this product may look like and what it may look like in 3D, and what it may look like in a virtual environment. So whether it's a device that's going to be used in the intensive care unit in a hospital, you can create today virtual realistic images of an ICU room with what this product is going to look like, where that product would be placed relative to the patient, how would clinicians interact with the device, and interacting with connecting the device to the patient, all virtually. You know, same with wearable devices. How would this device, you know, for example, an insulin pump or a wearable artificial kidney, how would this look like on a patient? And you could do this during your focus group sessions in real time. So you're really able to accelerate, you know, the total upstream early product innovation concept ideas, the voice of the customer needs the requirements to what is this product roughly going to what we refer to as the 3 Fs. I call it the form, fit, and function. So, you can really accelerate the form and the fit of the product and accelerate all of that and reduce your time on the initial upstream data assessment.
Yeah, the compression is happening real time, and it's one of the things that companies, startup companies especially, are going to be behind the times if they don't, or even established companies if they don't start looking at these collaborative solutions, especially with many workers working from home now on the design and simulation areas because of COVID. It's critical to have a single place where you can collaborate, and
Yes.
Just because you're face to face, it's great, but in a lot of companies, you're dealing with people. Even if you are in an office environment, you're dealing with people in other offices and sometimes in other parts of the world. And so it now with COVID, it's forced that change. It's forced people to have to look at some sort of a single solution for this.
Yes. No, it unifies and brings everybody together, and one of the things we forgot to mention, we talked about modeling in simulation, putting aside just the physical aspects of the designs. But if, for many medical devices, especially electromechanical devices, you have EMC testing that you have to do, electromagnetic compatibility, electromagnetic susceptibility, and you have simulation tools today that allow you to conduct EMC simulation testings, again, before you ever build the whole physical prototype. So, electromagnetic simulation, capabilities also has a huge impact on, accelerating the design development. And my apology that I didn't mention that earlier in our discussions.
Well, thanks, Aria. Okay, our next question.
With the med device startups and the collaboration conundrum, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so startups in the med device world really have a lot of challenges they're going up against. Typically it starts with somebody who's PhD or comes from the med device product world and has an idea for a product they want to bring to market, and they face a lot of challenges in doing that. And those challenges certainly range from the ideation side to the durability side, to the manufacturing and quality and so forth. And putting all of this together for a really small startup can be pretty daunting. A lot of these startup companies typically, they start off with Microsoft Office products. So as we were mentioning, we got Word and Excel that are products that are predominant, and a lot of these documents start getting produced. And that's all fine. That's a great way to capture information, and the electronic notebook and things like that. You can capture this information, but then when it comes to organizing it, and then as your company grows, and to be able to share this information with others in your company, and then to be prepared to put this together for the FDA when you get to that point, to create your DHF and DMR data, it gets to be very, very complicated and very difficult to do. So, and as a matter of fact, typically if there's a part that's being developed that needs to go in front of the FDA that's going to be embedded in the human body, typically those piece parts need a phone book of documents each. It's a massive amount of information that for each one of those piece parts. So managing all of this information, and it can get into the gigabytes very quickly, and sometimes the terabytes can be really, really daunting for a startup company. So what we do is we look at this at Dassault and at our company Vias, being a partner of Dassault's, We say, there's a solution out there for you. We've talked about what large companies are doing in this webinar, but it also applies to small startups. And really, how do you manage all of this information as you grow, and how do you capture it and make sure that when you're ready to go to the FDA, you're prepared for it, it's organized, and you're ready to, you're not using a document that's outdated, that you submit to the FDA and find out, oh my gosh, it's been updated and you've already made your submission. Those kinds of mistakes can be very, very costly for a startup company. So we always encourage our startups to take a look at what we call the 3D Experience platform, which is an engineering platform for many industries, but specifically medical device companies, can really help you. You could start off with a cloud solution at the very beginning, so you don't need that hardware. You don't need to bring in servers and maintain those servers and maintain the software on those servers. Here you could do it in 100% cloud solution, and this 3D Experience platform from Dassault is set up so that really all of that is taken care of, and all you need to do in your startup company is you start off with essentially a username and a password, and it allows you access in and full capability to not only manage all of this information, but to manage it securely for your own company and in a secure environment managed by Dassault. So all of the trouble that you'd have to normally deal with in the hardware world, you don't have to deal with any of it with this platform. And that's the platform that we're talking about with managing all of this information as a startup. Becomes very critical to making your timelines for your investors, to sharing this information with your investment community, with your stakeholders, with your management team, and also the scientists, the researchers, the people putting these products together. Everybody can collaborate with one single source of truth that pulls all of this information together and does it from the beginning of your company in a structure that's not expensive. It's very affordable, and it's something where you can grow. It grows with your company and enables you to get to market as you need to. So this is one area that we're really excited about bringing to the startup community, and we're definitely glad to bring this to your attention today.
So, with the future and how we thrive, how do you see Dassault Systems solutions addressing and accelerating new product introduction? And how do we enable a single source of collaborative sharing environment with embedded quality controls on a single platform to manage a total product lifecycle development process of medical products?
So, if we look at it, accelerating new product introduction encompasses people, it encompasses process, it encompasses technology. People need, as we mentioned earlier, need to be able to collaborate with one another and need access to a common set of data, again, that are managed under a single unified change management control system. Especially, even not, but especially during the COVID-19 environment, but even more so after COVID-19. So process control procedures such as change management, document management, quality management systems, they need to be implemented as your core bedrock. I mean, that needs to be your core foundation, your bedrock, to ensure upon compliance with regulatory authorities and to ensure upon the delivery of high quality, safe medical devices. So if we look at Dassault Systems portfolio, Dassault Systems 3D Experience platform is truly a collaborative, model-based, data-driven platform that facilitates, cross collaboration amongst people, both internally within the company, regardless of their physical location. Again, such as product marketing, R&D, human factors, quality, regulatory, supply chain, manufacturing, as well as with your external partners, in such cases such as third-party contract engineering design companies or contract manufacturers and suppliers, all upon a single source of data that is governed by a single unified change control process with the electronic signatures facilitating compliance with 21 CFR Part 11. You know, if you look at the small to mid-sized medical device companies, many of these companies use third-party contract engineering companies, and in some cases, third-party manufacturing companies. The 3D Experience platform facilitates the ability to interact and share data in real time with these third-party companies, whether they're engineering design companies, and you get together on the 3D Experience platform and start sharing and looking at CAD design, CAD design drawings, or whether it's with manufacturing. So you have your core collaborative framework with a single source of truth or single data source. And so then on top of the 3D Experience platform, Dassault Systems has a broad suite of software solution products covering the total product lifecycle development process of a medical product or a combination device. And these solutions or tool sets cover everything from upstream collaborative innovation. We spoke about earlier about ideation, concept design, gathering the voice of the customer needs, industrial design concepts in 3D, form and fit, market intelligence, data gathering, program project management. So for example, SolidWorks, which is probably one of the main market share leaders, at least in North America in CAD design, is widely used within the medical device industry, is a tool of Dassault Systems. We have requirements management, traceability solution sets, so allows you to trace all of your requirements from your voice of the customer needs to your product requirements, to your system engineering specifications, to your sub-level specifications, so your mechanical, electrical, software, all the way down to your test cases and test results. So you have total bi-directional linkages in your requirements management. You can also, with those tools, very effectively be able to reuse those tools, but it also ensures that each of your requirements are properly validated and tested for, and it can also link into your CAD data, can link into let's say standards that your device has to be compliance with. We have hazard risk analysis, FMEA. We have within our BioVia brand molecular mechanics and material science modeling, which is very important, especially, let's say, for drug-eluting stents or prosthetic devices that have a material compound with that. So within the BioVia suite of solutions, we have that. If you have lab systems, so we have a complete BioVia One Lab system for managing your labs. We have model-based systems engineering, design, and simulation tools. We have 3D modeling simulation tools for finite element analysis, computational fluid dynamics. We spoke about electromagnetic simulation. We have material compliance management. Just recently, last year in 2019, Dassault Systems acquired Metadata, probably one of the premier clinical trials company. So we offer a complete end-to-end, also clinical trial management system. We have the manufacturing tools, as we spoke about, in our Delmia brand, so complete digital manufacturing tools for manufacturing product line layout, planning, scheduling, and then manufacturing execution system. And then from a design control perspective, we have a complete design history file from inception to end of life. The DHF also works together with our market registration solution. So we have two parts to our market registration solution. We have our market registration solution, which allows you to accelerate the assembly, review, and submission of your device dossier to your regulatory authority. So you can define the checklist of the documents that are required. And then in our solution, and again, this has immense value, not just if you have your local regulatory team, but especially if you're a larger company and you have dispersed regulatory teams. The regulatory team can get into the DHF and literally drag and drop the documents right out of the DHF into the appropriate section of your device dossier, whether it's for a 510K or a PMA. So you're very able to very quickly accelerate the proper assembly of your device submission. Why is that important? Quite often, submissions are initially rejected because they don't have all of the appropriate sections. So in our solution, it allows you to configure, let's say, the file structure to that checklist from that regulatory authority. So whether it's a 510K or whether it's a PMA or so, you can configure those your file structure and then accelerate the assembly of the documents. And that's important because by having it under a single unified change control process, you can ensure that, almost 99.99%, that all the documents that you're pulling out of dragging, and virtually it is just dragging and dropping, taking your mouse, selecting the document that you want out of your DHF, and drag it into the appropriate section of your device dossier. So that really accelerates the assembly, review, submission time to the regulatory authority. Also within our market registration, we track all interactive review questions that comes from the regulatory authority. And that's important because you have a specified time within which you have to reply to those questions. And if you don't, quite often your review clock gets reset to 0. So we can complete tracking of that and the management of that internally within the company. So here's the response. Here's the questions that the regulatory authority asked. We have a built-in program management function, allows you to assign who's responsible for that and track their delivery upon answering to that. And then we manage also all of your renewals. And then as part of the market registration solution, we also have a UDI solution. So we have a complete UDI that allows you to assemble and do the electronic submission of the device identifier record through the FDA ESG gateway. We do complete acknowledgement trackings back from that. We're also working on the UDIMED for that. We've done one aspect of that, and everybody's waiting for the final release specifications for that. We also have a complete adverse event recording solution. We have a complete CAPA complaints, non-conformance, and audit management solution. So, and we also have, in addition to the DHF, we also have our device master record. So if you look at the 3Ds, your DHF, your device master record, your DHR, within our Delmia brand, we have within our manufacturing the EDHR. So we provide what I call the 3Ds of design control. And then as we mentioned, we have the complete change in configuration management, for authoring, review, approvals, SOP, training, with automated notification, electronic signatures, supporting 21 CFR Part 11.
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive, and again, we've worked with many companies, both large and small, to bring these solutions to market. So some of the largest med device companies out there, the Medtronics, on down. They're really quite a large number of companies that we've worked with to create these solutions that work for large companies all the way down to small companies. So it's quite a great solution, and it's very modular. It's not something where you go in with some big piece of software that takes a lot of time and effort just to get stood up and working. Everything is very modular. So you take these very small roles, we call them, and ways that we can put this out to companies a bit at a time, so they're not overwhelmed with all the software. They take it as it comes, and as they need those requirements that they've got.
Right. You can maybe you start. I mean, depending on the company, if you're a small mid-size, maybe I don't know, you start off with your putting in your quality management system or whatever, building upon, or if you already have a quality management system. So we can interface to quite a large variety of systems. So I don't know, let's say, for requirements management, you use Excel, you use Microsoft Word, whatever. We can tie that into, and interface that into our requirements management tool. Or let's say, hey, we need a regulatory information management system. Fine. So you can buy what you need and add, as you grow. Okay, we're gonna bring manufacturing, in-house instead of using a third-party contract manufacturer. Great. And so maybe what you want help on is a tool set for laying out your manufacturing line process. Again, it depends upon the complexity of your product. So we have solution sets that you can add on, depending upon as your need and as your company grows.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Aria. Okay, well, I'd like to thank the panelists. It was a really great presentation today. And I was looking at the questions. We do have one question that came in, and I think, Aria, this came in for you. It looks like, and it asks, can you expound a little bit upon the FDA requirements for med device companies? Maybe add a little bit to that, what they require, and what does that look like for a typical company who's doing it for the first time?
So, medical device companies have to be in compliance with FDA regulations, and a major part of that is there's several, but a major one is your 21 CFR Part 820. And, having a document management control system is extremely critical. How you sign off on those documents. So having a base document management control system, and then having your quality management CAPA compliant NCR process, really you're kind of looking at your bedrock foundation. Quite often, sometimes it's a startup company. You may get audited by the FDA, and being able to check on that. And in addition to that is also, your design controls, your DHF, DMR, and DHR that we spoke about. The FDA doesn't regulate how you manage those. They don't care whether it's a paper-based system or it's an electronic system. They want to ensure that you do have a system in place, and that you're following the system and procedure and guidelines. So we provide all of the core elements, again, for medical device companies to be in compliance with the regulatory authorities. The FDA does not audit our solution sets. We facilitate companies to be in compliance. We spoke about requirements management. There's a control for that. We have that. We support and are in compliance with 21 CFR Part 11 for electronic signatures. So, from a core base, document control, quality management system, and other solutions, we facilitate companies to be in compliance from that perspective.
And what could happen? I mean, if let's say the FDA comes in, does an audit, and you really are a mess. Your company really doesn't have good organization, good processes in place. What could they do to you? What's the downside of that?
Well, typically, they'll give you a time to correct for that. But if if you don't, I mean, it can go anywhere from warning citations to shutting down a product to worst case, that they can close down a company until you implement all of the address all of the findings that the FDA has, and that occurred with a major medical device company that was getting ready to sell off a company, that the FDA, after a number of warning citations, came in and closed them down until they got compliant. So it can go from just a warning citation to shutting you down.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, that concludes the questions here, and I'd like to again thank everybody, and we'll wrap it up. Michelle, turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us today. We will be sending this out shortly as a recording so that you can revisit it later, and look forward to our next webinar, which we will be sending out soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.